Commander Zixavora walked slowly toward the center of the massive Galactic Council chamber. His purple skin looked dull under the bright lights. Every step made him wince. The battle with the humans had left him with injuries that would never fully heal. He had lost one of his forearms, and the remaining 3 trembled slightly as he moved. The council chamber stretched high above him, with seats rising in a circle like a giant bowl. Representatives from over 200 alien species sat watching him. Most looked bored. Some were talking among themselves. A few tapped on data screens, not even pretending to pay attention. Zixavora reached the speaking platform and stood straight despite his pain. He had fought in 12 major conflicts across the galaxy. He had faced the hive warriors of Deltas 9 and survived the acid storms of the Krell campaign. But nothing had prepared him for what he experienced when his fleet encountered humans. Distinguished members of the Galactic Council, he began, his translator converting his clicking speech into the standard galactic language. I come before you today with urgent information about the species from planet Earth, the ones who call themselves humans. High Counselor Meltharix, a tall being with glowing blue skin and 6 eyes, sighed loudly. Commander Zixavora, we have reviewed your preliminary report. The humans are a level 3 civilization that has barely mastered faster-than-light travel. They control only 8 planets in a single star system. Why should they concern this council? Zixavora's breathing tubes flared with frustration. Their technological development is not what concerns me, High Counselor. It is their approach to warfare. A ripple of laughter spread through the chamber. Ambassador Phalorex, who represented the ancient celestial hegemony, spoke next. His voice came from a hovering translator orb, as his actual body was a collection of gas clouds contained in a floating tank. Commander, our records show your fleet consisted of 5 warships against a single human vessel, and yet you retreated. Perhaps this explains your unusual concern about these primitives. More laughter filled the chamber. Zixavora's outer membrane changed color with embarrassment, but he continued. My fleet was disabled by a single human ship that was technologically inferior to ours in every way. Their vessel, named Intrepid, was commanded by a human called Captain Ryan Blackwood. When we first detected them in the Proxima Centauri system, we followed standard protocol and demanded they leave Council space immediately. Zixavora activated a holographic display showing the human ship. It was bulky and functional without the elegant design of Council vessels. The humans refused to leave. Their captain claimed they had legal mining operations in the system. When we prepared to fire warning shots, they did something unexpected. They transmitted detailed personal messages from each crew member to their families back on Earth. Strategic Analyst Vreen, a small green being with an oversized head who served as the Council's military advisor, leaned forward with mild interest. Why is that significant? Because, Zixavora explained, they knew we would intercept and translate these messages. They wanted us to know they were thinking about their families. They wanted us to see them as individuals before the battle began. It was psychological warfare. High Counselor Meltharix waved a dismissive hand. Continue with the actual battle report. Zixavora nodded. We fired our warning shots as planned. The human ship's shields were basic and would not have withstood a direct hit from our weapons. But instead of surrendering or retreating, they launched small fighter craft. Our scanners indicated these fighters had minimal weapons and no shield protection. We assumed this was a desperate last stand. The commander's voice became quieter, forcing the council members to listen more carefully. The fighters did not attack our ships directly. Instead, they targeted our external sensor arrays with precision strikes. Within minutes, our 5 ships were partially blind. When we adjusted our defensive shield patterns, they immediately changed their attack strategy. Zixavora brought up another holographic image showing a small human shuttlecraft approaching his command ship. We destroyed this shuttle. We later learned it contained 17 human crew members. In our experience, most species would retreat after such a loss. The humans did not. They became something else. Their attacks grew more coordinated, more aggressive. The commander's breathing was now more rapid, his translator struggling to keep his tone even. Their lieutenant, a female called Samantha Wells, somehow reconfigured their ship's communication array to interfere with our targeting systems. Their weapons officer, a male named Eric Donovan, developed a rotating shield frequency that made our energy weapons increasingly ineffective. Zixavora looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many council members as possible. Within 3 hours, all 5 of my ships were disabled. We lost engine control, weapon systems, and long-range communications. The human captain then contacted me directly. He did not demand surrender. He did not threaten execution. He offered medical assistance for our injured. Strategic analyst Vreen made a dismissive sound. So they are soft, emotional. This confirms our existing intelligence. No, Zixavora said firmly. You misunderstand. Captain Blackwood told me something I cannot forget. He said, "We don't want to fight, Commander, but we've had thousands of years of practice at it. Don't make us get better at it on your account." The chamber grew quiet for a moment. High Counselor Meltherix broke the silence. Commander, while your experience was clearly traumatic, our analysis suggests this was an isolated incident. The humans probably got lucky. Our simulation data indicates they are physically weaker than most Council races, require frequent rest periods, and have no natural weapons or defenses. Zixavora's frustration was now visible in his rapidly changing skin patterns. That is my point, Counselor. They have no natural advantages, yet they survived on a predator-filled planet and rose to dominance. They've spent their entire history fighting against nature, against animals, against each other. War is in their culture in a way we cannot comprehend. Ambassador Philorex's gas cloud swirled impatiently. The Council has voted to proceed with resource extraction in the Alpha Centauri system. The humans will be formally notified that these are Sovereign Council territories. They will fight, Zixavora warned. Then they will lose, stated High Counselor Meltherix with finality. This council has faced and integrated hundreds of species over thousands of years. Humans are nothing special. Zixavora lowered his head in defeat. You're making a terrible mistake. I have seen what humans become when they fight. They don't follow the rules of engagement that the rest of us have used for millennia. They improvise. Your warning is noted, Commander, said Meltherix coldly. This matter is settled. You are dismissed. As Zixavora limped away from the platform, he knew what was coming. The Council would move their extraction fleets into human-claimed territory. The humans would resist, and then the Council would learn what Zixavora already knew. Humans were unlike any species the galaxy had ever encountered, and they were just getting started. Fleet Admiral George Martinez stared at the alien message displayed on the main screen of Earth Defense Force headquarters. The message was short and to the point. The Galactic Council claimed full ownership of the Alpha Centauri system. Alai, human mining operations must cease within 15 standard days. Any human vessels remaining after that time would be considered illegal trespassers and dealt with accordingly. Martinez ran a hand over his close-cropped gray hair. At 62 years old, he had served in Earth's military for over 40 years. He had helped establish the first human colonies on Mars and had led the defense during the brief but violent First Contact War with the Krull Raiders. But this was different. This was humanity's first major confrontation with the Galactic Council, the ruling body that controlled most of the known galaxy. They're not even pretending to negotiate, said Commander Susan Bailey, who stood beside Martinez. Her dark skin contrasted with her silver uniform as she studied the tactical displays. They're just telling us to get out. Martinez nodded. They think we'll back down. They've miscalculated. The room around them buzzed with activity. The Earth Defense Force Command Center was built deep underground in what used to be called Colorado. Massive screens covered the walls, showing the locations of every human military vessel and the estimated positions of the approaching Council fleet. How many ships can we get to Alpha Centauri in time? Martinez asked. Commander Bailey tapped on her datapad. 27 combat-ready vessels. Maybe 30 if we rush the repairs on the ships at the Luna shipyards. And how many ships in the Council fleet? Bailey hesitated before answering. Our long-range scans show at least 200 vessels. Most are specialized for resource extraction, but at least 50 are warships. Martinez pressed a button on the command table. Get me Lieutenant Donovan. A moment later, a young man's face appeared on one of the smaller screens. Lieutenant Eric Donovan had an unusual background for a military officer. Before joining the Earth Defense Force, he had designed video games. His understanding of strategy and unconventional tactics had quickly moved him up the ranks. Lieutenant, Martinez said, I need options. We're outnumbered and outgunned. Donovan's eyes lit up. Sir, that's exactly the kind of situation humans excel at. I've been studying the footage from the Intrepid's encounter with those 5 alien ships. The aliens fight by the book. They follow patterns and protocols. We don't have to do that. What are you suggesting? Bailey asked. Operation Trojan Horse, Donovan replied with a slight smile. We have dozens of civilian mining vessels in the Alpha Centauri system. The Council forces will see them as non-threats. What if we retrofit them? Martinez leaned forward. Keep talking. We remove some of the mining equipment and install short-range fighters in the cargo bays. We also add electromagnetic pulse generators. When the Council ships move in to start their extraction operations, they'll find themselves surrounded by what they thought were harmless mining ships. Bailey looked skeptical. The Council ships will have advanced shields and weapons. Our mining vessels would be destroyed in seconds. Not if we time it right, Donovan insisted. We only need a few seconds of surprise. The EMP generators will temporarily disable their shields and communications. That's when our hidden fighters launch. By the time they recover, we'll have fighters inside their formation, targeting their propulsion systems. Martinez considered the plan. It was risky, but it might work. How quickly can we modify the mining vessels? With round-the-clock work, 3 days, Donovan replied. The miners themselves have volunteered to help. They're not happy about being kicked out of their claims. Do it, Martinez ordered. Commander Bailey, select our best pilots for this operation. I want people who can think on their feet. I know just who to call, Bailey said. Major Nicole Chen. She was an Olympic gymnast before joining the military. Her spatial awareness in zero-G combat is unmatched. 3 days later, Major Nicole Chen floated in her flight suit inside one of the modified mining vessels. Around her, 30 other pilots waited in their single-person fighters, each craft tucked into spaces where mining equipment had once been. The mining ship's exterior still looked the same, but inside it had been transformed into a carrier for fighters and weapons. Remember, Chen said to her squadron through the comm system, these aliens fight like they're following a rule book. We don't. That's our advantage. Target their engines first, weapons second. We want them stranded, not desperate. A voice came over the general communication channel. Council fleet has entered the system. All vessels maintain current positions. Do not power up weapons until the signal is given. Chen took a deep breath. In her previous life as an athlete, she had learned to control her nerves before competition. This was just another performance, but with much higher stakes. Through the small viewport, she could see the massive Council ships appearing one by one. They were beautiful in a strange way, with smooth lines and glowing blue energy fields surrounding them. The main extraction vessel was enormous, nearly 10 times the size of Earth's largest ship. They're sending us another message, announced the captain of the mining vessel. They're ordering all human ships to leave immediately or be destroyed. What's our response? Chen asked. Admiral Martinez is sending them a request for a 48-hour extension to evacuate our personnel. Chen smiled. Buying time. Smart. Council ships are moving into position around the mining facilities, reported the ship's sensor officer. They're spreading out to surround us. They're falling for it, Chen whispered to herself. The minutes ticked by slowly. Chen ran through the mission plan in her mind again and again. Their fighters were faster and more maneuverable than anything the Council had, but they had limited fuel and weapons. They would need to strike hard and fast. All vessels, this is Admiral Martinez, came the voice over the comm. The Council has rejected our request for more time. They are preparing to fire warning shots. Operation Trojan Horse is now active. I repeat, Operation Trojan Horse is now active. Chen felt her heart rate spike as adrenaline flooded her system. All pilots prepare for launch on my mark. Around her, the other pilots gave thumbs-up signals. They were a mix of men and women, all chosen for their ability to adapt quickly to changing situations. Some had been fighter pilots before. Others, like Chen, had come from completely different backgrounds. EMP generators activating in 3, 2, 1. Mark. The mining vessel shuddered as the hidden electromagnetic pulse generators powered up and released their energy. Through the viewport, Chen saw the nearest council ships flicker as their shields temporarily failed. "Launch! Launch! Launch!" she shouted. The mining vessel's hidden bay doors opened and 30 fighters shot out into space. All across the Alpha Centauri system, similar scenes played out as hundreds of human fighters emerged from what the Council had thought were harmless mining ships. As Chen piloted her fighter toward the largest Council warship, she thought about what Admiral Martinez had told them before the mission. "Today," he had said, "we remind these aliens why humanity survived on a predator-filled planet for thousands of years." The battle for Alpha Centauri had begun. General Krith VX of the Galactic Council fleet watched in disbelief as his command ship's systems flickered and went dark. The emergency lights cast an eerie red glow across the bridge. Around him, his crew of various alien species worked frantically to restore power. "What happened?" he demanded, his 6 eyes blinking rapidly in confusion. "Some kind of electromagnetic pulse," reported his science officer, a tall, insectoid being. "It came from the human mining vessels. They were not what they appeared to be." Krith VX slammed his fist on the arm of his command chair. This was supposed to be a simple operation. The Council had assured him that humans were a primitive species who would retreat at the first show of force. Now his flagship was disabled, and reports were coming in that the same had happened to most of his fleet. "How long until systems are restored?" he asked. "Main power in 2 minutes. Shields and weapons in 5, replied his engineer. "That's too long," Krith VX muttered. Then his eyes widened as the sensor officer gave a shout. Multiple small craft launching from the mining. "Vessels, hundreds of them!" The general watched the tactical display as it came back online. Small dots representing human fighters were swarming toward his ships like angry insects. This was not in any of the briefings he had received about human military capabilities. They tricked us, he realized aloud. The mining ships were disguised carriers. In her fighter, Major Nicole Chen banked hard to avoid enemy fire. Her small craft was incredibly fast, designed specifically for close combat around larger vessels. She led her squadron toward the largest Council warship, the one that had to be the command vessel. "Formation Delta," she ordered over the comm. "Remember the plan. Target their engines. Make them sitting ducks." The 30 fighters under her command spread out into a 3-dimensional attack pattern. The Council ships were starting to recover from the EMP, but their responses were slow and predictable. They fired in coordinated volleys that were easy to anticipate and avoid. "These aliens fight like they've never faced an opponent who didn't follow the rules," Chen said to herself as she rolled her fighter between 2 energy beams. She dove toward the massive engines at the rear of the command ship, with 2 wingmen following close behind. The Council ship's point defense systems were coming back online, firing rapid pulses of energy into space. "Evasive maneuvers," Chen ordered. "Don't fly straight. Keep them guessing." She juked her fighter left, then right, then spun in a tight spiral that would have made any normal human black out from the G-forces. Her time as a gymnast had given her exceptional resistance to such stresses. "I'm in position," she announced as she lined up with the main propulsion system of the alien vessel. "Firing now." Chen launched a volley of high-intensity plasma bolts directly into the glowing blue exhaust port of the Council ship. The resulting explosion rocked her fighter, forcing her to pull up sharply to avoid the debris. "Direct hit," shouted one of her wingmen. "Their main engines are offline." All across the battle zone, similar scenes played out as human fighters targeted the propulsion systems of the Council fleet. The alien vessels were more advanced and better armed, but they couldn't hit what they couldn't predict. And humans were nothing if not unpredictable. On the surface of Proxima Centauri b, another battle was unfolding. Colonel Frank Rivera led a company of Earth's special forces in powered exoskeletons. They had been hiding on the planet for days, disguised as maintenance workers at the human mining facility. Remember, Rivera told his troops through their comm system, Council soldiers fight by the book. They've never faced anything like us before. The Council ground forces had landed in perfect formation, their sleek armored forms moving with practiced precision toward the mining facility. There were about 300 of them, outnumbering Rivera's forces 3-1. Hold positions, Rivera ordered, as he watched the alien soldiers advance. Wait for my signal. The Council forces moved closer, their energy weapons held ready. They clearly expected the humans to either surrender or engage in a direct firefight. They were not prepared for what actually happened. Now, Rivera shouted. All around the mining facility, hidden panels in the ground opened up. Automated defense turrets rose and began firing, not at the Council soldiers themselves, but at the ground beneath their feet. The carefully prepared explosive charges detonated in sequence, creating a ripple of explosions that threw the alien formation into chaos. Rivera grinned inside his helmet. Second phase, go! His soldiers emerged from their hiding places, not in a battle line as the Council forces would have expected, but in seemingly random positions all around the alien troops. The powered exoskeletons made them faster and stronger than they appeared, allowing them to move quickly between cover. Remember your training, Rivera said. Hit and move. Don't stay in one place. The Council soldiers tried to reform their lines, to follow their standard combat protocols. But the humans refused to cooperate. They attacked from multiple directions at once, retreated when the aliens least expected it, and used the very environment as a weapon. Back in space, the battle was turning decisively in humanity's favor. Admiral Martinez watched from the bridge of his flagship as the tactical display showed more and more Council vessels disabled or retreating. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from one of the alien ships. It's not using standard Council protocols." Martinez raised an eyebrow. "Put it through." The main screen flickered to life, showing the face of an alien that Martinez recognized from intelligence briefings. It was the same alien who had tried to warn the Council about humans, Commander Zix Vora. "Admiral Martinez," the alien said, its translator making its voice sound almost sad. "I tried to warn them about humanity. They wouldn't listen." "And now?" Martinez asked. "Now they are learning what I already knew," Zix Vora replied. "But this lesson does not need to cost more lives. I am offering to serve as a mediator between your forces and what remains of the Council fleet." Martinez considered this for a moment. "Our terms are simple. The Council acknowledges human sovereignty over the Alpha Centauri system and agrees to formal diplomatic relations with Earth on equal terms." Zix Vora's breathing tubes flared slightly. "The Council will resist such terms. They have never treated a newcomer species as an equal." "Then they'll need to learn another lesson about humanity," Martinez said firmly. "We don't just fight harder than they expect. We also negotiate harder." On the command ship, General Krith VX was coming to terms with an unthinkable reality. Defeat. Half his fleet was disabled, and the rest was in disarray. The humans had somehow turned the tables completely. "General," said his communications officer, "Commander Zix Vora is requesting to speak with you. He says he's in contact with the human admiral." Krith VX's pride wanted to refuse, but his duty to his troops came first. "Put him through." As Zix Vora's face appeared on his screen, the general had a sudden realization. "You tried to warn the Council about these humans. We should have listened." "Yes," Zix Vora said simply, "and now you must listen to them, or this defeat will become a disaster. The humans want diplomatic recognition and sovereignty over this system." Krith VX looked around at his damaged bridge, at the tactical display showing his crippled fleet. "And if we refuse? Then you will learn even more about why I fear these humans," Zix Vora replied. This was just their opening move. The Galactic Council emergency session was unlike anything seen in thousands of years. Representatives from all member species gathered in the Great Chamber, but gone was the usual calm and order. Angry voices filled the air as news of the defeat at Alpha Centauri spread. High Counselor Meltheric struggled to maintain control of the session. Order! We must have order! Strategic Analyst Vreen, who had so confidently dismissed the human threat, now looked small and afraid as he gave his report. Our extraction fleet has suffered severe damage. Over 50 ships completely disabled. Another 30 with major systems failures. General Krithvx has agreed to a temporary ceasefire while awaiting Council instructions. This is unacceptable, shouted Ambassador Phalorex, his gas clouds swirling violently in his containment tank. How could primitives defeat our advanced fleet? Zixvora stood silently at the side of the chamber. He had rushed back to Council space after helping negotiate the ceasefire. Now, watching the Council's reaction, he felt a mix of vindication and concern. They still didn't understand what they were dealing with. The humans used tactics we have never seen before, Vreen explained, his voice shaking slightly. They hid fighters inside mining vessels. They specifically targeted propulsion systems rather than weapons. On the ground, they refused to meet our forces in direct combat, instead using the environment itself as a weapon. Meltherix's glowing blue skin had darkened with anger. What are their demands? They want formal recognition as a sovereign power, Vreen replied. They demand acknowledgement of their claim to the Alpha Centauri system, and they insist on representation on this council. This last demand caused an uproar. No species had ever been granted council membership without at least 1,000 years of proving their civilization's stability. The humans had barely been in space for a century. Impossible, Meltherix declared. We will send a proper military fleet, one designed for war, not resource extraction. We will show these humans the true might of the Galactic Council. Zixvora could remain silent no longer. He stepped forward. High Counselor, with respect, that would be a catastrophic mistake. All eyes turned to him. Meltherix glared. You have already spoken your piece, Commander. Your warning was noted. And ignored, Zixvora replied firmly. And now many lie dead because of it. Will you compound that error? Before Meltherix could respond, the chamber doors opened. A human woman walked in, escorted by council security. She wore a simple blue uniform with minimal insignia. Her brown hair was cut short, and she carried herself with quiet confidence. Who authorized this? Meltherix demanded. The security chief, a reptilian being, bowed slightly. She arrived by diplomatic shuttle, High Counselor. She carries credentials as Earth's official representative. The human woman stepped forward. My name is Ambassador Amanda Kelly. I represent the unified government of Earth and its colonies. I am here to prevent unnecessary further conflict. Meltherix's 6 eyes narrowed. Your presence here is irregular, human. This council does not recognize your credentials. Ambassador Kelly smiled slightly. Yet here I stand, much like how our ship stood against your fleet, despite your belief that they shouldn't have been able to. A murmur ran through the chamber. The human's boldness was shocking to many of the representatives. You should know, Kelly continued, that we have deployed similar tactics across all human claim systems. Your next fleet would face the same surprises as the first, and humans tend to improve with practice. Zixvora moved closer to the center of the chamber. Members of the council, I have seen these humans in combat twice now. They do not fight as we do. They do not think as we do. Traditional military analysis fails when applied to them. Kelly nodded to Zixvora with respect before addressing the council again. We don't want war. Contrary to what Commander Zixvora might think, humans actually prefer peace. But we will defend what's ours. The Alpha Centauri system has been charted as council territory for centuries, Meltherix stated. Charted but not settled, Kelly replied. We found no evidence of prior claim when our first colony ships arrived 15 years ago. We've built homes there, established mines and farms, had children born on those worlds. We will not abandon them. The council chamber grew quiet as representatives considered this. Many species on the council understood the concept of home and the drive to protect it. Ambassador Philorex's translator orb hovered forward. What exactly does Earth want from this council? Kelly held up 3 fingers. First, recognition of human sovereignty over our currently settled systems, including Alpha Centauri. Second, a formal peace treaty and trade agreement. Third, a path to council membership. Preposterous, Meltharix exclaimed. Council membership requires centuries of evaluation. Your species is barely out of its gravity well. Kelly's expression remained calm. Perhaps traditional methods of evaluation don't apply to humans either, just as traditional military tactics didn't. From his position on the chamber floor, strategic analyst Vreen reluctantly spoke up. High Counselor, my preliminary analysis of the battle data suggests that the humans deliberately avoided causing casualties where possible. They disabled rather than destroyed. They offered medical assistance to injured council personnel. This information caused surprised murmuring among the representatives. Such restraint was not expected from a supposedly primitive species. Zixavora stepped forward again. This matches my own experience with them. Humans are dangerous fighters, but they understand the value of mercy, of de-escalation. Meltharix's anger seemed to fade slightly, replaced by calculation. And if we refuse your terms, Ambassador Kelly? Then we remain in a state of conflict, she replied simply. Our forces will stay on high alert. Your ships will not be welcome in our systems. An opportunity for peaceful coexistence will be lost. She paused, then activated a small holographic projector she carried. Images appeared in the center of the chamber. Earth's oceans and forests, human children playing, artists creating music, scientists working in laboratories. This is who we are, Kelly said softly. Yes, we can fight when needed, but this is what we fight for. The chance to build, to create, to explore. We believe the galaxy is big enough for all of us. The council chamber was silent for a long moment. Even Meltharix seemed to be considering her words carefully. Finally, Ambassador Philorix spoke. I move that we establish a diplomatic working group to consider the human proposals. We need not decide everything today. Other representatives began to voice agreement. The mood in the chamber was shifting. Zixavora watched with growing hope. Perhaps war could be avoided after all. Perhaps the council was finally beginning to understand. Meltharix raised his hands for silence. Very well. We will establish diplomatic channels with Earth. Ambassador Kelly will be granted temporary diplomatic status while negotiations proceed. He looked directly at Kelly, all 6 of his eyes focused intently on her. But know this, human. The council has existed for 10,000 years. We do not make decisions hastily. Kelly nodded. Earth has existed for over 4 billion years. Humans have learned patience from our planet. As the session adjourned, Zixavora approached Kelly. That went better than I expected, Ambassador. It's only the beginning, she replied. But beginnings matter. Zixavora looked at her curiously. You are not what I expected. Kelly smiled. That's humanity's greatest strength, Commander. We're never quite what anyone expects. 6 months had passed since the battle at Alpha Centauri. The main council chamber looked different today. A new section had been added with a simple but elegant desk bearing the Earth flag. Ambassador Amanda Kelly sat there, representing humanity, at the final session to formalize Earth status with the Galactic Council. The past months had not been easy. Many council races still viewed humans with suspicion or fear. Others saw opportunity in this new, unusual species. The diplomatic talks had nearly broken down several times, but always someone found a way forward. High Counselor Meltharix called the session to order. His attitude toward humans had changed from dismissive to cautiously respectful. He had personally visited Earth once during the negotiations, and the experience had clearly affected him. Representatives of the Council, he began. Today we vote on the Earth Accords, establishing formal relations between humanity and the greater galactic community. Zixavora watched from his new position as Special Advisor on Human Affairs. The Warja battle-scarred commander had found an unexpected second career as a bridge between species. He understood humans better than most aliens did, though he would be the first to admit he was still learning. The proposed agreement recognizes human sovereignty over Earth, its solar system, and the Alpha Centauri system, continued Meltharix. It establishes trade protocols, cultural exchange programs, and technological cooperation in non-military fields. Ambassador Falorix's gas clouds swirled in what Zix Vora had learned was a pattern of discontent. And what of the unprecedented provision for council membership? Never has a species been offered such rapid consideration. Meltharix nodded. The agreement creates a unique pathway for Earth. Instead of the traditional 1,000-year probation period, humans will serve a 50-year observation period. During this time, they will have voice but not vote in council matters. Strategic analyst Vreen, who had rebuilt his reputation by producing the most comprehensive analysis of human behavior to date, spoke next. The shortened timeline recognizes that humans develop and change more rapidly than most council species. 1,000 years would see humans become unrecognizable to themselves, let alone to us. Ambassador Kelly listened quietly. She had proven to be an effective representative for Earth, firm in defending human interests but creative in finding compromise. Behind her calm exterior, though, she felt the weight of the moment. Humanity's place in the galaxy would be decided today. The council representatives began to state their positions. One by one, they registered their votes on the agreement. Some did so enthusiastically, others with clear reluctance. A few spoke of the dangers of moving too quickly with such an unpredictable species. When all had spoken, Meltharix announced the result. The Earth Accords are approved by council vote. 173 in favor, 37 against, 12 abstaining. Kelly released the breath she had been holding. Earth was now officially recognized by the galactic community. Humans had a place at the table. As the session ended, Zix Vora approached Kelly. Congratulations, Ambassador. You have accomplished in 6 months what most species take centuries to achieve. Kelly smiled. We had help. Without your warnings to the council, even if they were ignored at first, things might have gone very differently. Zix Vora made a gesture that Kelly had learned was the equivalent of a shrug. I merely told the truth as I saw it. Humans scared me. They still do sometimes. Fear can be useful, Kelly replied. It warns us of danger, but it shouldn't stop us from making friends. They walked together toward the reception that would formally celebrate the new agreement. Representatives from many worlds mingled there, some approaching the human delegation with curiosity, others keeping their distance. Admiral Martinez stood, with Commander Bailey near a large window overlooking the spectacular council capital city. Both wore formal Earth military uniforms, representing their planet's defense forces. Never thought I'd be drinking alien wine at a peace celebration, Martinez commented quietly. Not after what happened at Alpha Centauri. Bailey nodded. Better this way. We showed we could fight. Now we show we can cooperate. Across the room, Lieutenant Donovan was enthusiastically discussing something with a group of alien engineers. His hands moved energetically as he described concepts that his translator struggled to convey. Major Chen stood nearby, looking slightly uncomfortable in her dress uniform. She preferred the cockpit of her fighter to diplomatic functions, but her role in the battle had made her something of a celebrity among certain council races who valued skill in combat. Colonel Rivera sampled alien foods with remarkable courage, considering the strange colors and textures. His ground forces had performed so effectively that several council species had requested permission to send observers to Earth's military training facilities. Kelly watched her fellow humans with pride. They had all played their parts in bringing humanity to this moment. She turned back to Zix Vora. Will you be returning to military service now that the crisis is over? The alien commander shook his head. No. My experience with humans has given me a new purpose. There is much the Council needs to learn about your kind, and much your kind needs to learn about the galaxy. I will help bridge that gap. We're not always easy to understand, Kelly admitted. That is precisely why my role matters, Zix Vora replied. Humans are contradictory. You fight with remarkable ferocity, yet show mercy at unexpected moments. You cobble together inferior technology, yet use it in ways our finest engineers never imagined. You seek peace while preparing for war. Kelly considered this. Perhaps that's because Earth itself shaped us that way. Our planet is beautiful, but dangerous. We've always had to be both tough and tender to survive. High Counselor Meltherix approached them, his blue skin glowing slightly brighter than usual, which Kelly had learned indicated a positive emotional state. Ambassador Kelly, he said formally, today marks a historic moment for the Council. Never before have we incorporated a new species with such unusual qualities. Kelly smiled diplomatically. We appreciate the Council's willingness to adapt its traditions to accommodate us. After seeing how you adapted our military protocols to defeat us, Meltherix replied with unexpected humor. It seemed only fair. As the reception continued, news of the agreement spread across Council space and back to Earth. On human colonies, throughout the Alpha Centauri system, people celebrated. On the Council homeworlds, reactions were mixed. Some welcomed these strange new members of the galactic community, while others worried about what changes humans might bring. Back on Earth, in what was once called Colorado, a small group gathered in a memorial garden created to honor those lost in the Alpha Centauri conflict. Family members of the 17 crew members who died when their shuttle was destroyed placed flowers beneath a simple stone monument. Among them stood Captain Ryan Blackwood, whose encounter with Zix Vora's fleet had been the first warning of humanity's unusual approach to warfare. He placed his hand on the monument and spoke softly. We made it, he said. We have our place among the stars now. As night fell on Earth, humans looked up at the sky with new understanding. They were no longer alone in the universe. They had proven themselves through both strength and wisdom, and though challenges would surely come in the future, humanity had earned something precious. Respect. In the council chamber, now empty after the day's historic events, Zix Vora stood alone, looking at the Earth flag that now hung alongside the banners of other member worlds. He remembered his first encounter with humans, how they had confused and frightened him, how different they were from anything he had known. And now, he said quietly to himself, the galaxy will never be the same.